So here's a simple question. How old are you? Well, we all know chronologically how old we are, but actually, how old are you internally, biologically? There are a lot of factors that go into that, including telomeres. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Hello, and welcome to Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. I am so pleased to welcome Dr. Samar Bursheh. She is an endocrinologist and owner of Nutriamed Metabolic and Lifestyle Center in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. And she knows all about the aging process and what we can do to slow it down. Thanks so much for joining me, Dr. Bursheh.
My pleasure. And I don't think anybody wants to ever answer the question, how old are you? But
No,
telomeres don't lie. They tell it all.
they do. So that is the first question. Let's talk about telomeres. What exactly are they? People have heard of them, but what exactly are they and how do they tell us how old we are?
Yes, telomeres are a constellation of DNA and proteins, and they cap the end of your DNA or chromosome to protect it from damage and stress. So, as we age, these telomeres get shorter and shorter from stress, from disease. And when you're younger, these telomeres are much longer and they help preserve the cell life and cell function.
Someone related them to like a shoelace, the end of the cap of the shoelace, and that
Correct.
starts to deteriorate or fray, and that's how we tell our age. So what are the factors that go into telomeres? Let's get into that a little bit, a little bit deeper. What controls that?
Absolutely. So much stress into your cell, either from diseases or unhealthy lifestyle, can add so much oxidative stress and shorten the telomere because the telomere is constantly trying to fight these stressors and protect your cells. As the telomeres get shorter, the cell becomes dysfunctional. It starts becoming more of an inflammatory or a toxic cell, and eventually it dies off. And this is what we call the aging or accelerated aging.
So what are some of the factors that affect how long or short our telomeres are and basically overall aging?
So there are internal factors, so that's related to your mind and body, and environmental factors. So internal factors are like if you're not following a healthy lifestyle, if you don't exercise, smoking, excessive alcohol, chronic stress, not just simple stress that helps you succeed, but chronic stress, anxiety, depression, sleep deprivation. These are all just part of the stressors that could shorten a telomere individually, but also your environment can affect your telomere length. So, your zip code, where you live, as an example, people in the blue zones are shown or are known to have longer telomeres, and that's associated with longevity and their younger looks. Um, Also, if you live in an area that does not allow a lot of movement, if you're constantly around toxic fumes or stressful situations, those are all factors that can shorten your telomere over time and accelerate the aging process.
Absolutely. And you mentioned blue zones. I just find blue zones so fascinating. 5 regions in the world where
Mhm.
people often live past 100 years old and they're healthy living like that. And they have
Correct.
very different cultures. I mean, Loma Linda, California is the only one in the
Yes.
United States, Costa Rica, Japan, there's various areas. They have different cultures, yet they have so
Mhm.
many common factors. Can you just go through that briefly? Some of the things that
Absolutely.
bind them together, that are factors that keep them living longer, healthy lives?
Absolutely. So that also includes Italy and Greece, areas in Italy and Greece.
Yes.
As you mentioned, Japan, California, Loma Linda, Costa Rica. And in those cultures or those environments specifically, you'll see people moving all the time. They follow much healthier eating patterns. A lot of them are plant forward and not necessarily fully vegetarian or vegan, but plant forward, fresher foods. Um, they're constantly around people they love. So there's community support, there is social support. And as I mentioned, constant engagement, and that does not only include movement, but those people work until a later age. They're productive. So
Yes. They
productivity.
garden. Many times they
Mhm.
garden or they sew or knit or do something active. And when you say movement, it doesn't mean they go to the gym and lift weights necessarily. They might just be walking a lot. Just
Yes,
some way they're active.
correct. Some areas don't even have gyms, but they're constantly moving, flowing, and walking
Yes.
everywhere.
And sort of in some ways the opposite of what we do as Americans. We're eating, high fat foods many times, much more of a meat based type of diet. People will sit for 10 hours a day at a desk, don't get a lot of activity. Often we're isolated. We think we're so
Correct.
connected through the internet, but many times, especially over COVID, it was glaring how
Yeah,
disconnected we often are. And so
correct.
there are those lifestyle factors that play a role in our aging. And if we can just make even one little adjustment, that can make a big difference.
It can. Definitely, it can make a big adjustment. And one factor we always miss to talk about is depression and anxiety, mental health. Mental health plays a very big role in your telomere length and your lifespan and longevity. And if you look at most studies nowadays, we're not only talking about longevity as an age or chronological age, but how long can you live in a healthy lifespan without any diseases, without any disabilities? So now we're looking at it as prolonging your healthy lifespan, your healthy years, versus just prolonging your calendar years.
Yes, it's the life in your years, not just the years in your life. And that's really an important point because we don't want to just extend our life if we're ill and we don't feel well. We want to extend it and feel great,
Yep.
participate in the world and still enjoy. You see some people, they're 95 and they're still out there walking and they're talking to people and they're active and they're involved. That is a very important point. And also you mentioned mental health. I am so big on that. And when I first started, gosh, I was in my 20s when I first started doing the health features and the interviews and all of that. And I had a different view of mental health. And I'm ashamed to admit it, but like many people, I sort of was like, if someone's depressed, like, come on, snap out of it, get over it. And I've talked to so many doctors and so many people who have suffered from chronic depression. And,
Correct.
that's great advice, but they can't do it. I mean, it's like telling somebody who's overweight, oh, just, go on a diet. I mean, of course they know that, but it's actually doing it to make it happen. That's the hard part. And when someone is suffering with chronic depression or mental health issues, it's so vital for them to get help. I mean, if you broke your leg, you'd go
Yes.
to a doctor for a broken leg. Why wouldn't you give your brain that same kind of attention? Why wouldn't we do that? And it's starting to change, but I still think there is a little bit of a stigma around mental health,
Yes.
especially in men.
There is always a stigma. And if you're mentally unable to fulfill and live your best life, you are not going to be able to embrace a healthier lifestyle. It is also well known to be associated with more smoking, with more substance abuse. And all of those factors go back to affecting your telomere length and eventually your lifespan and the quality of your life.
Yes, I spoke with someone. I talked to them about it. They were part of a recovery center. And I said, well, what comes first? Is it the mental health issues or is it the addictive behavior? And she really could not answer that. It was sort of like chicken or the egg. They're kind
Correct.
of rolled into one.
Mhm.
And, one behavior creates another behavior. And it just makes it very, very difficult. So important. There are more resources out there now. So I'm so glad we touched on mental health. But let's turn our attention to movement. That's my
Yes.
favorite thing.
Yes.
Movement. And I hate to use the word exercise because sometimes I used to use the word exercise to my mom and she would cringe. I don't want to exercise. But if I would
Yeah.
just say, let's just take a walk, she could manage that. So we have to start thinking about it as just something we do separate from our lives. It should be incorporated into our lives. Movement is what we're meant to do. And it's not only good for our physical health, but we also mentioned mental health. It's great for both.
Yes, it's important to stay as active as possible. I cannot pressure that enough. And as you mentioned, you don't necessarily have to go to the gym. I believe a combination of different things, guided with fitness classes just to make sure that you're doing the right thing, you're carrying your weights properly, and to make sure you're enhancing your muscle strength. But also, if you just take a walk the rest of the time and out in nature, taking a walk out in nature has a completely different and definitely superior effect on your physical health and your mental health and your telomere length. So a combination of activities is highly encouraged. Plus, it breaks the routine,
Yes.
and it makes sure you're taking part, or you're taking care, sorry, of all aspects of your health, not only your muscle, but also your core, your bone structure, your heart, your gut as well. That's
Yes.
how movement
Yes.
is important.
And that is why, we try to incorporate a little bit more. And you did mention, we do have to also include some sort of strength training, even if it's at home. You can use bands, you can use your own body weight, but some sort of resistance training, because as we grow older, as we know, we lose muscle mass. It's a
Mhm.
sad part of aging, but
Yes,
it's
yes,
so true. I think after the age of 30, it starts to decline and it gets worse and worse as it goes. But I always say, I
correct.
teach a workout class, and I always say, we are going down swinging. We're going to fight this, and we're going to do everything we can to maintain our muscle. And that
Yes,
includes, some sort of resistance training. That's weights, that's body
yes,
weights, even so doing some, push-ups, even if they're on your knees every day,
yes.
just something to increase that
Even
muscle
using your
mass.
own weight sometimes,
Yes,
even using
yes.
your own weight against gravity.
Hmm.
Um, and if you're just seated, I encourage people who are unable to do a lot of activity to just sit on the chair and do simple chair exercises. We actually train them here at Nutriamed to enjoy exercises like that. They're very simple and very safe, and extremely necessary. You can start on the chair. After a while, you'll notice you're actually able to stand up from a chair without much assistance. You're able to make further trips without feeling any shortness of breath. So it all starts with simple steps. There's nothing is impossible.
Yes, paraphrasing here, but a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And
Yes.
that's why I think a lot of people maybe will start a workout routine and then quit it because they just feel overwhelmed. There's just too
Mhm.
much. And
Mhm.
and that's what I love about what you do at Nutriamed. You really start people where they are. You meet them where they are. You encourage them to come. No one feels embarrassed. Nobody feels that someone's looking at them. It's a small group. And I think that's so important for people, because for those who maybe never worked out in their lives, never participated in a gym environment, it can be a little scary. It can be overwhelming.
Yes, it can definitely be intimidating. So we divide our groups. There are groups who are so advanced in their workouts, and they want more. They crave more and more challenges. But there's other groups of people who have never worked out or who have disabilities and limitations. So we do divide our clientele into different categories, different classes, based on their ability, and a lot of it also is based on age group because we want to create this sense of community support, which we noticed was extremely important in our classes. They have the
Absolutely.
same,
People encourage one another,
yes,
let's
people
get
encourage
together,
one
let's
another.
go to class. Instead of
They
let's
make
go to the
friends.
bar and drink,
Yes,
let's go to the workout class. I mean, that's a much better thing to do together. And it's still very social and very fun. And, I love your story. I mean, we met, I don't know, I think it's a couple years ago now. And when I first met you, I thought, she's got it going on, because you really hit the nail on the head. You work with your patients as an endocrinologist. You deal with a lot of folks with diabetes who maybe have some weight issues or other disabilities. And you felt that you needed more time, or you wanted to give them more to really change their lifestyle. Talk to me about how you develop Nutriamed and everything that you do there.
thank you, Robin. I really highly respect your opinion. But yes, so I developed Nutriamed after noticing that just one visit with my patients was never enough. Just lecturing someone who has been following the same lifestyle forever, that's all they know, is never enough. But I wanted to actually show them how to do it, and I wanted to live it with them. I take most of our fitness classes with my patients. It's really amazing to be the student and the teacher because I learn from my patients and I teach my patients. Our trainers take a role. Everybody has a role in Nutriamed, and so does our nutritionist. So I wanted to show them the way. How do you eat healthier? How do you eat healthier on a budget? How can you make simpler, effortless meals that actually taste extremely delicious and that love your body,
And that's why
that
you have
are
the
very
cooking
nutritious?
classes there, which is
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's why we have created the cooking classes. And that's why we have the nutrition guidance. We also work with athletes to guide them what to do before, during, and after exercise, specifically marathon runners. We also incorporate multiple different programs, as you mentioned, for diabetics, for obesity, even for osteoporosis. We believe that it all starts in the kitchen. It all starts in how you treat your body. You only have one body, and you need to treat it very well. And at Nutriamed, we want to give you all the tools to be able to take care of your body and live your best life. And that's through medical supervision, nutrition consultations, fitness classes, cooking classes, and tons of education and community. Our
And you have a
patients
great
are
staff
our
there,
community.
great staff. They're great people. I know them, and they really are dedicated, and they really care, and very knowledgeable.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, it's so true. And, and they care. I mean, your nutritionist, shout out to Alice in Strip Matter. She just really knows her stuff. I've met with her on several times. I mean, I've been someone who's paid attention to my diet and what I eat my whole life, but she said she's still learning. There's more to learn all the time, and things change all the time. But just things like, your gut health and,
Mhm.
changing some habits that might not be the best. Um, I just thought she was great. And also, you have a wonderful trainer there as well.
Well
She's
done.
she's great, slow, but yeah, she's terrific. And you just have a good, beautiful facility that really welcomes people, that makes them feel part of the family, and that encourages people to keep coming back. And of course, you offer them the medical side of things as well, which makes you really different.
We try our best. We want everybody to come in and feel at home and
Yes.
at peace and no judgment.
Yes, that's so true. And talk to me about what you do as an endocrinologist. We're talking about telomeres are kind of getting a little bit off the path, but just briefly what you do as an endocrinologist and how you help your patients.
So, endocrinology is a science of hormones and hormone producing glands and metabolic illnesses. A lot of what we do involves your glands, like thyroid diseases, adrenal diseases, bone disease like osteoporosis, but the majority of what we do is related to metabolic illnesses, specifically diabetes, excess body weight, cholesterol problems, and cardio metabolic diseases. So this is mostly what we do as endocrinologists and in
And
our
that can
practice.
certainly aid you metabolic disease.
Yeah,
So, and of course, I'm sure when your patients need medications, you are able to prescribe them. But the
yeah,
idea is, if possible, to reduce medications or hopefully eliminate them through
yeah.
lifestyle changes. And that's what I love that you're doing there. And do you see patients, changing their lifestyle? Are you seeing that they're making this change and the light bulbs going off for them?
Absolutely. So we follow or we focus so much on lifestyle medicine at Nutriamed. If you can do it without medications, that's always preferable. If you need them when necessary, we definitely would prescribe that. A lot of our patients were able to change their lifestyle. Vast majority actually were able to change their lifestyle, and they found it much easier than what they anticipated. There's always fears about changing lifestyle. Anybody's scared of change all the time, but when it's guided, when it's within your abilities, when you meet with our team and you know that this is all attainable, most of our patients change their lifestyle. Actually, one patient specifically, um, in her 50s, mentioned to us this is the best she has ever felt in her life, the healthiest she's ever felt in her life. And I can quote another 70 and 80-year-old patients, two men actually, who mentioned they've never felt this young.
Yeah,
They've
and
never
there
been
that's
able
going
to walk.
going back to the telomeres. So they might have a certain chronological age, but
Yeah,
they've actually just reversed time. They rewound the clock a bit. I mean, that's incredible to me that
yeah,
people are able to do that and feel so good, in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, better than they felt in their entire lives, even when they were in their 20s. And
correct.
so I think the point there is it's not too late. You can always make these changes.
It's never too late. Of course, it's always better to start earlier because you give your body more time to achieve a bigger goal. But it's never too late because when you start following healthier eating patterns and you start moving, you're actually reprogramming your brain into a more balanced pathway, which eventually leads your body to a more balanced pathway. It can stop the progression of the telomere shortening. It can enhance the enzyme, it's called telomerase, which protects telomeres. And by this, you can actually halt your cell aging. So it's definitely never too late to live your best life. And that's what we try to focus on in Nutriamed. Nutriamed was mainly built and based on the longevity concepts, scientifically proven, medical proven longevity concepts, again, through our medical supervision, our nutrition, fitness classes, cooking classes, and our community.
And I know you feel it in your heart and you're passionate about this. And maybe as time goes on, we could become a blue zone here in South Jersey. That would be
That would
nice.
be amazing. Yes. Why not?
Loma Linda
Actually,
has
yeah.
nothing on us.
We have good water. We have our beaches. We have
Yes,
an excellent environment. Yes, we can
we
become a.
do. Absolutely. That is so true. That's great. Now, if someone listening or watching would like to reach out to you, learn more, come in for a class, talk with your nutritionist, where can they reach you?
At nutriamed.com.
Nutrimed.com. And we also want to say this is open to the public. It's not just for your patients, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. Well, great information talking about telomeres, living a longer, healthy life. Who doesn't want to do that? Thank you so much, Dr. Samara Bursheh, endocrinologist and owner of Nutrimed Metabolic and Lifestyle Center in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And thank you for joining me today for Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. Hope you'll subscribe and leave a review. I really appreciate that. And stay up to date on my most recent episode. Until I see you next time, keep living well.